Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are going to talk about something that might just keep you up at night. Literally. Picture this. You're deep in sleep. The world is quiet, and suddenly, an itch creeps up your arm, then your back, then everywhere. You toss, you turn, you scratch, and before you know it, you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what on earth is happening to your body. Maybe you remember the last time you took a bath, how your skin felt tight, almost as if it had shrunk a size, and you couldn't wait to slather on some lotion. Or perhaps you recall gripping the bathroom handrail, your heart pounding, as a wave of dizziness washed over you. These aren't just random annoyances, they're warning signs. And tonight, I want to tell you why. You see, I grew up in a household where cleanliness was next to godliness. My parents, like so many of their generation, believed that daily bathing was the cornerstone of good health. A clean body is a healthy body, my mother would say, scrubbing my back with a vigor that could have sanded a wooden floor. I carried that belief into my own life and even into my medical practice for decades. I told my patients, especially my older patients, to bathe every day. It seemed like common sense. But then, at the age of 68, I found myself wide awake one night, scratching at my own skin, wondering why. Despite my best efforts at hygiene, I felt worse than ever. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for a soft noise. And let's begin our journey tonight. That night, as I lay there, I realized something was wrong, not just with my skin, but with everything I thought I knew about health and aging. I started to question the advice I'd been giving for years. Why was my skin, and the skin of so many of my patients, becoming drier and more fragile with each passing year, despite our best efforts to stay clean? Why were so many of my elderly patients coming to me with the same complaints? Itching, rashes, even infections, despite their impeccable hygiene. Was it possible that the very thing we thought was keeping us healthy was actually making us sick? Let me tell you, as a doctor, admitting you've been wrong for decades is not easy. It's like realizing you've been using a map upside down your whole life. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. I started to see a pattern. The older my patients got, the more problems they had with their skin, and the more religiously they bathed, the worse those problems became. It was as if their bodies were trying to tell them something, but no one was listening. One night, I remembered my own mother. She was a stickler for cleanliness, bathing twice a day, well into her 70s. But then, almost overnight, she developed a terrible itch that no cream or ointment could soothe. She couldn't sleep, she couldn't rest, and she certainly couldn't enjoy her golden years. We went from doctor to doctor, but no one could figure out what was wrong. It wasn't until I started looking at her habits, her daily, sometimes twice daily, hot baths, that the answer became clear. Her skin's natural barrier had been stripped away, leaving her vulnerable to irritation and infection. This realization hit me like a cold shower. I began to dig into the research, and what I found was shocking. Studies showed that up to 90% of skin problems in people over 65 could be traced back to improper bathing habits. Not poor hygiene, mind you, over-hygiene. The very thing we thought was protecting us was, in fact, our undoing. Now, I know what you're thinking, but doctor, I've been bathing every day for my whole life. Are you telling me I've been doing it wrong? Trust me, I had the same reaction. It felt almost sacrilegious to suggest that less could be more when it came to cleanliness. But the science was clear, and the stories of my patients and my own experience were even clearer. Here's a strange fact for you. In some cultures, especially in parts of Europe, daily bathing is considered excessive, even wasteful. People bathe every other day, or even less, and yet they don't seem to suffer from more skin problems. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a public debate that's been raging for years. How much is too much when it comes to washing? Some dermatologists argue that our obsession with cleanliness is a modern invention, fueled by advertising and social pressure, rather than genuine health needs. As I lay awake that night, scratching and pondering, I realized that wisdom doesn't always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from doing less and doing it better. In old age, our bodies change in ways we can't always predict. The rules that worked for us in our youth may not serve us well in our later years. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is to let go of old habits and embrace new ones, even if it means challenging everything we thought we knew. So tonight, I invite you to join me on this journey of discovery. We're going to explore the hidden dangers of daily bathing for seniors, the science behind skin health, and the simple changes that can make all the difference. And along the way, I promise to share a few laughs, a few surprises, and maybe even a few secrets that your dermatologist never told you. As I began to unravel the mystery of my own restless nights and the complaints of my elderly patients, I found myself drawn deeper into the secret language of aging skin. It's a language written in fine lines, in the way the skin loses its plumpness, in the way it seems to thirst for moisture no matter how much lotion you apply. If you've ever looked at your hands and thought, when did these become maps of the Sahara? Well, you're not alone. The truth is, our skin is the largest organ we have, and it's also the one that most clearly broadcasts the passage of time. Let me share a bit of wisdom that only old age can teach. Your skin is not just a covering. It's a living, breathing shield. In our youth, it's like a brand new raincoat, waterproof, flexible, and able to bounce back from almost anything. But as we age, that raincoat becomes more like a well-worn jacket, thinner, more fragile, and prone to letting the elements seep in. The natural oils and fats that once kept our skin supple begin to dwindle, and the skin's ability to hold on to water drops dramatically. By the time you're in your late 60s, your skin's moisture content can fall below 5%. That's not just dry, that's practically a drought. Now, here's where things get interesting. Most people assume that the solution to dry skin is to wash more, scrub harder, and use stronger soaps. But in reality, the opposite is true. Every time you bathe, especially with hot water and harsh cleansers, you strip away the very oils your skin is desperately trying to hold on to. It's like trying to water a plant by pouring bleach on it. The more you clean, the more you damage the protective barrier, and the more your skin rebels with itching, flaking, and even open sores. I remember one patient, Mrs. Lee, who came to me in tears. She was 76, proud of her lifelong habit of bathing twice a day, and yet her skin looked like cracked earth after a drought. "I don't understand, doctor," she said. "I'm cleaner than I've ever been, but I've never felt worse." It was a heartbreaking moment, but also a turning point. I gently explained that her skin needed time to recover between baths, and that less was truly more. We switched her to bathing every other day, using lukewarm water and a gentle cleanser, and within weeks her skin began to heal. She even joked that she finally had time to read the morning paper instead of scrubbing away her natural defenses. Here's a strange tidbit for you. In Japan, where the tradition of daily bathing is strong, there's a growing movement among seniors to embrace yudofu, a minimalist approach to bathing that focuses on soaking in warm water without soap, just to relax the muscles and hydrate the skin. It's a public debate that sparked heated arguments at bathhouses and family gatherings alike. Some say it's unhygienic. Others swear it's the secret to longevity. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. Of course, not everyone agrees. There are dermatologists who argue that daily bathing is essential for preventing infections, especially in crowded urban environments. But the evidence for seniors is mounting. The more you bathe, the more you risk damaging your skin's natural barrier. It's a debate that's unlikely to be settled anytime soon. But one thing is clear: what works for a 25-year-old marathon runner does not necessarily work for a 75-year-old retiree. Let's not forget the wisdom that comes with age. My own mother, after years of resisting my advice, finally agreed to cut back on her baths. At first, she grumbled. Old habits die hard, after all. But soon she noticed that her skin was less itchy. Her sleep improved, and she even started to enjoy the ritual of applying moisturizer, almost like a mini spa day. "I never thought I'd say this," she told me, "but sometimes doing less really is doing more." And here's a marginal fact that might surprise you. The skin of older adults actually produces different types of oils than younger skin. These oils are less effective at trapping moisture, which is why even the most expensive creams can feel like they're just sitting on the surface. It's a biological shift that no amount of scrubbing can reverse. The only solution is to work with your skin, not against it. So, what's the takeaway? If you're over 65, consider bathing every other day, using lukewarm water, and choosing a mild, fragrance-free cleanser. Keep your baths short. 5 minutes is plenty. And always, always moisturize within 3 minutes of stepping out of the water. It's a small change, but it can make a world of difference. There's an old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I've found that the opposite is true, especially when the new trick is as simple as skipping a bath. The real wisdom of old age is knowing when to let go of the rules that no longer serve you, and to embrace the ones that do. And if anyone gives you a hard time about it, just tell them your doctor said so. The bathroom, for all its porcelain and polished chrome, is a stage for some of the most dramatic moments in the lives of older adults. I've lost count of how many times I've heard, "Doctor, I just slipped for a second, Mo," or "I felt dizzy," and the next thing I knew, I was on the floor. The truth is, the bathroom is a treacherous place, especially as we age. It's not just about wet tiles and slippery soap. It's about the way our bodies respond to heat, water, and sudden changes in position. And let me tell you, the consequences can be far more serious than a bruised ego. Let me share a bit of wisdom that only comes with years of watching people grow older. The most dangerous place in the house isn't the kitchen with its sharp knives, or the garage with its power tools. It's the bathroom. Why? Because as we age, our blood pressure regulation becomes as unpredictable as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. One moment you're standing tall, the next you're seeing stars. The simple act of stepping into a hot shower or bath can cause your blood vessels to dilate, dropping your blood pressure faster than a politician's approval rating after a scandal. I remember Mr. Kim, a spry 72-year-old who prided himself on his independence. He'd been bathing every morning at dawn for decades, a ritual he considered sacred. One morning, he stood up too quickly after a hot soak, and the world spun out from under him. He managed to grab the handrail, thank goodness for small mercies, but the scare left him shaken. "I never thought a bath could be dangerous," he told me, his voice trembling. "I thought I was just getting old." Well, yes and no. Age brings wisdom, but it also brings changes in how our bodies handle stress, temperature, and movement. Here's a strange fact. In Finland, where sauna culture is practically a religion, researchers have found that older adults who use saunas regularly are at higher risk for sudden drops in blood pressure and fainting spells. There's even a word for it, sauna pinsarki, or sauna headache. It's a public debate in Finland. Should seniors avoid saunas altogether, or just take extra precautions? Some say the benefits outweigh the risks. Others argue for moderation. The same debate applies to our own bathrooms, minus the birch branches and communal nudity. Now, let's talk about falls. Statistically, more than 30% of home accidents among people over 65 happen in the bathroom. And these aren't just minor slips. Many result in broken hips, head injuries, or worse. I've seen patients who were perfectly healthy one day, only to have their lives upended by a single fall. The recovery can be long, painful, and sometimes incomplete. It's a sobering reminder that a moment's inattention can change everything. But here's the good news. Most of these accidents are preventable. It's not about wrapping yourself in bubble wrap or giving up bathing altogether. It's about making small, sensible changes. For example, avoid bathing early in the morning or late at night, when your blood pressure is naturally lower. Stick to the middle of the day, when your body is more stable. Keep your bath short and the water lukewarm, not hot. And for heaven's sake, install a grab bar and a non-slip mat. I know, it's not the most glamorous bathroom accessory, but neither is a cast on your leg. There's an ongoing academic debate about whether daily bathing is necessary for infection control in older adults. Some experts argue that less frequent bathing increases the risk of skin infections, while others point out that overbathing actually strips away the skin's natural defenses, making infections more likely. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. What's clear is that the risks of falls and blood pressure drops are real, and they deserve our attention. Let me share another bit of wisdom. Pride is a wonderful thing, but it has no place in the bathroom. If you need help, ask for it. If you feel dizzy, sit down. If you're worried about falling, let someone know. There's no shame in taking precautions, only in pretending you're invincible when you're not. I've seen too many patients who let pride get in the way of common sense, and the results are never pretty. And here's a marginal fact to ponder. In some retirement communities, residents are required to press a button before and after bathing, just to let staff know they're safe. It might sound extreme, but it's saved more than a few lives. Maybe it's time we all took a page from their book. So, the next time you step into the bathroom, remember, it's not just about getting clean. It's about staying safe, staying upright, and staying alive. A little caution goes a long way, and a few simple changes can make all the difference. And if anyone teases you about your grab bar, just tell them you're setting trends in senior safety. If you've ever found yourself standing in the bathroom, debating whether to take a bath before or after breakfast, you're not alone. Timing, as it turns out, is everything. Not just in comedy, but in bathing, too. I've seen more than a few patients who thought a quick soak after a hearty meal would be the perfect way to relax, only to end up feeling faint, nauseous, or worse. And then there are those who, in the name of efficiency, hop into the shower first thing in the morning, running on nothing but an empty stomach and sheer willpower. Let me tell you, both approaches can be a recipe for disaster, especially as we age. Here's a bit of wisdom that only comes with years of watching people's routines unravel. Your body is a finely tuned machine, and it doesn't appreciate being thrown off balance. After you eat, your digestive system demands a significant share of your blood flow. It's like a diva at a concert, insisting on all the attention. If you jump into a hot bath right after a meal, your skin and muscles start competing for that same blood supply. The result? Your brain and other vital organs might get shortchanged, leading to dizziness, weakness, or even fainting. I once had a patient, Mr. Park, who prided himself on his post-dinner baths. One evening, he stood up too quickly in the tub and promptly passed out, scaring his wife half to death. "I just wanted to relax," he told me later, sheepishly. "Instead, I got a trip to the ER." On the flip side, bathing on an empty stomach isn't much better. When you haven't eaten, your blood sugar is low, and your body is running on fumes. Add the heat and humidity of a bath, and you've got a perfect storm for lightheadedness or even collapse. Mrs. Choi, a sprightly 71-year-old, used to jump straight into the shower every morning before breakfast. One day, she felt so weak She had to sit down on the shower floor, shivering and scared. "I thought I was just getting old," she said. "Turns out I was just hungry." Here's a strange fact. In some Mediterranean countries, it's considered almost sacrilegious to bathe right after a meal. Grandmothers will chase you out of the bathroom with a wooden spoon if you even try. They believe, with almost religious fervor, that bathing after eating will stop your heart. While that's a bit dramatic, there's a kernel of truth in their caution. The debate among medical professionals is ongoing. Some say the risks are overstated. Others insist that timing really does matter, especially for older adults. The consensus? It's better to err on the side of caution. Let's not forget the wisdom that comes from listening to your own body. As we age, our internal signals can get a bit fuzzy. Hunger doesn't always feel like hunger, and dizziness can sneak up on you without warning. That's why it's so important to pay attention to how you feel before stepping into the bath. If you're full, give yourself at least an hour or two to digest. If you're hungry, have a light snack, maybe a banana or a piece of toast before you bathe. And always, always keep a glass of water nearby. Hydration is your best friend, especially when you're dealing with heat and humidity. There's an ongoing academic debate about whether bathing after meals is truly dangerous or just an old wives' tale. Some studies suggest that the risks are minimal for healthy young adults, but the picture changes dramatically for seniors. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at regulating blood flow and blood sugar. What was once a minor inconvenience can become a major hazard. It's a reminder that the rules of youth don't always apply in old age. Here's a marginal fact to chew on. In some high-end spas, guests are given a small snack and a glass of water before their treatments, precisely to avoid the risks of fainting or dizziness. It's a practice rooted in both tradition and science, and it's one we could all stand to adopt at home. So, what's the takeaway? Timing matters. If you want to enjoy your bath without risking your health, wait at least an hour after eating, and don't bathe on an empty stomach. Keep your baths short and the water lukewarm, and listen to your body's signals. If you feel dizzy or weak, get out of the tub and sit down. There's no shame in taking care of yourself. After all, you've earned it. And if anyone gives you grief about your new bathing schedule, just tell them you're following doctor's orders. Who knows? You might even start a new trend in your neighborhood. There's a peculiar kind of stubbornness that comes with age, a belief that if something worked for us in the past, it must still be the right thing to do. Nowhere is this more evident than in the rituals we cling to when we're feeling under the weather or bone tired. I can't count the number of times I've heard, "Doctor, I always take a hot bath when I'm coming down with something. It sweats the sickness right out." Or, "A long soak is the only way I can shake off this exhaustion." It's a comforting thought, isn't it? The idea that a little heat and steam can wash away illness and fatigue. But as with so many things in life, what feels good in the moment can sometimes do more harm than good, especially as we get older. Let me share a bit of wisdom that only old age can teach. Your body is not a machine that can be reset with a hot bath. When you're sick or exhausted, your body is already working overtime to keep you stable. adding the stress of a hot bath is like asking a tired horse to run another mile. I remember Mrs. Hahn, a 75-year-old with a heart of gold and a stubborn streak to match. She caught a mild cold and, true to family tradition, decided to sweat it out in a steaming bath. Instead of feeling better, she ended up with a fever that spiked dangerously high, and her cough worsened. She was admitted to the hospital with pneumonia, a complication that could have been avoided with a little rest and a lot less heat. Here's a strange fact. In some parts of Eastern Europe, it's common to avoid bathing entirely when you're sick, believing that water opens the pores and lets illness in. While the science behind that is questionable, there's a kernel of truth in the idea that your body is more vulnerable when it's fighting off infection. The debate among medical professionals is ongoing. Some argue that a warm bath can help relieve muscle aches and congestion, while others warn that it can raise your core temperature to dangerous levels, especially in older adults. The consensus? If you're feeling unwell, it's better to err on the side of caution. Fatigue is another tricky beast. When you're tired, your blood pressure is often lower, your reflexes slower, and your body less able to handle sudden changes in temperature or position. I once had a patient, Mr. Yoon, who spent an entire day helping his daughter move house. By evening, he was so exhausted he could barely keep his eyes open. He decided a hot bath would be the perfect way to unwind. Instead, he found himself so dizzy he couldn't stand up and had to call for help. "I thought I was just tired," he told me later. "I didn't realize I was putting myself in danger." Here's a marginal fact. In some high-altitude regions, people avoid bathing when they're fatigued or ill, believing that the combination of thin air and hot water can lead to fainting or even heart problems. It's a practice that's been passed down for generations, and while it might sound superstitious, there's a surprising amount of wisdom in it. The body's ability to regulate temperature and blood pressure is compromised when it's under stress, and adding heat to the mix can tip the balance in the wrong direction. There's an ongoing academic debate about whether bathing while sick or tired is ever truly safe for older adults. Some studies suggest that a brief, lukewarm shower can help with relaxation and sleep, while others warn that even mild heat can exacerbate underlying health issues. The truth is, every body is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. The key is to listen to your body and to err on the side of caution. So, what's the takeaway? If you're feeling sick or exhausted, skip the bath, rest, hydrate, and give your body a chance to recover. If you absolutely must bathe, keep it short, use lukewarm water, and make sure someone is nearby in case you need help. There's no shame in taking it easy. After all, you've earned the right to put your feet up. And if anyone tries to guilt you into sweating it out, just smile and tell them you're following the latest medical advice. Who knows? You might just start a new family tradition, one that values rest and recovery over old wives' tales. Alcohol and bathing. Now there's a combination that sounds like the start of a bad joke, but for many older adults, it's a familiar ritual. Just a little soju and a soak. "Doctor, it helps me sleep." I've heard this more times than I can count, usually delivered with a wink and a nudge, as if I'm being let in on a secret. But let me tell you, the only secret here is how dangerous this habit can be, especially as we age. If you think a drink and a bath is harmless, you might want to keep listening because the risks are far greater than most people realize. Here's a bit of wisdom that comes with years of watching the same patterns repeat. Our bodies simply don't handle alcohol the way they used to. The liver slows down, the heart works a little harder, and the brain takes a bit longer to bounce back. Add a hot bath to the mix, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Alcohol dilates your blood vessels, making you feel warm and relaxed. Hot water does the same thing. Put them together, and your blood pressure can drop so quickly you won't know what hit you until you're picking yourself up off the bathroom floor. Or worse, waking up in the emergency room. Let me tell you about Mr. Beck, a 72-year-old with a fondness for both good company and good drink. For years, he and his friends would gather for a few glasses of soju, then head to the local bathhouse to sweat out the toxins. One evening, after a particularly lively gathering, Mr. Beck slipped into the tub and promptly lost consciousness. His friends thought he was just dozing, but when they tried to wake him, he was unresponsive. It took a frantic ambulance ride and several days in the hospital before he recovered. "I thought I was just relaxing," he told me later, shaking his head. "I didn't realize I was risking my life." Here's a strange fact. In some Scandinavian countries, the tradition of combining alcohol and sauna is so ingrained that there are public health campaigns warning against it. The debate is ongoing. Some argue that a little drink in the sauna is harmless, while others point to the alarming number of accidents and deaths linked to the practice. The science is clear, though. Alcohol impairs your body's ability to regulate temperature and blood pressure, and the risks only increase with age. There's also the issue of underlying health conditions. Many older adults have high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease, conditions that make the combination of alcohol and hot water even more dangerous. I've seen patients who are managing their conditions well, only to end up in crisis after a single evening of relaxation. The body's ability to compensate for sudden changes is diminished, and what might have been a minor inconvenience at 40 can become a life-threatening emergency at 70. Here's a marginal fact. In some Japanese bathhouses, there are strict rules against entering the baths after drinking. Staff will actually turn people away if they suspect they've been drinking, and for good reason. The risk of drowning, fainting, or suffering a heart attack is simply too high. It's a policy that might seem strict, but it's saved countless lives. The academic debate continues. Is it ever safe to combine alcohol and bathing? Some argue that a single glass of wine in a lukewarm bath is harmless, while others insist that the risks far outweigh any potential benefits. The consensus among geriatricians is clear. If you're over 65, it's best to avoid the combination altogether. Your body simply isn't equipped to handle the double whammy of alcohol and heat. So, what's the takeaway? If you've had a drink, skip the bath, wait several hours, drink plenty of water, and make sure you're feeling steady before even considering a soak. If you absolutely must bathe, keep the water lukewarm, keep it short, and never bathe alone. There's no shame in being cautious. After all, you've got too much life left to live to risk it all for a few minutes of relaxation. And if anyone teases you about being overly careful, just tell them you're following the advice of a doctor who's seen it all. Who knows? You might just save a life, maybe even your own. By now, you might be thinking, all right, doctor, you've convinced me that my lifelong bathing habits might need a little tune-up. But what exactly should I do? Well, let me distill decades of medical experience, patient stories, and a few hard-learned personal lessons into 5 simple rules for safer, healthier bathing in your golden years. These aren't just arbitrary guidelines. They're the product of science, common sense, and a dash of humor. Because let's face it, if we can't laugh at ourselves, who can we laugh at? First, reduce your bathing frequency. I know, this one is a tough pill to swallow, especially if you grew up believing that daily scrubbing was the only thing standing between you and social exile. But trust me, your skin will thank you. Aim for every other day, or even every third day, if your skin is especially sensitive. Use lukewarm water, not hot, and keep your baths or showers short. 5 to 10 minutes is plenty. Think of it as a spa treatment, not a marathon. And if anyone in your family complains, just tell them you're conserving water for the planet. You might even get a thank you card from the local utility company. Second, be strategic about timing. Avoid bathing first thing in the morning or late at night, when your blood pressure is at its lowest and your risk of dizziness is highest. The sweet spot is late morning to mid-afternoon, when your body is most stable. And remember, never bathe right after a meal or on an empty stomach. Give yourself at least an hour after eating. And if you're feeling peckish, have a light snack before you step into the tub. Your body will appreciate the consideration, and you'll avoid those awkward moments of feeling faint with nothing but a towel for company. Third, make your bathroom a fortress of safety. Install a grab bars, use non-slip mats, and keep a sturdy chair nearby in case you need to sit down. I know, it's not the most glamorous home improvement, but neither is a trip to the emergency room if you live alone. Consider letting a friend or family member know when you're bathing, or even invest in a medical alert device. It's a small price to pay for peace of mind. And if you're feeling fancy, treat yourself to a waterproof radio or a scented candle. Just keep the matches far from the bath water, unless you want to explain to the fire department why your relaxing soak turned into a rescue mission. Fourth, listen to your body. If you're feeling sick, exhausted, or just off, skip the bath. There's no medal for powering through when your body is waving a red flag. Rest, hydrate, and wait until you're feeling better. If you absolutely must bathe, keep it short. Use lukewarm water, and make sure someone is nearby. And if you start to feel dizzy or weak, get out of the tub immediately and sit down. There's no shame in taking care of yourself. After all, you've earned the right to put your feet up and let someone else do the worrying for a change. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, never mix alcohol in bathing. I can't stress this enough. If you've had a drink, wait several hours before bathing. And make sure you're fully sober and hydrated. The combination of alcohol and hot water is a recipe for disaster, especially if you have underlying health conditions. If you're celebrating a special occasion, Save the bath for another day. Or better yet, enjoy a foot soak while you sip your wine. It's just as relaxing and a lot less risky. Here's a bit of wisdom that comes with age. The best habits are the ones that make you feel good, not just in the moment, but in the long run. It's easy to get stuck in routines that no longer serve us, but it takes courage to make a change. And sometimes, the smallest changes, like skipping a bath or adding a grab bar, can have the biggest impact. Here's a strange fact. In some retirement communities, residents have bath buddies, not in the way you might think, but as a safety measure. They check in on each other before and after bathing, just to make sure everyone's okay. It's a simple system, but it's saved more than a few lives. Maybe it's time we all adopted a little more community spirit, even if it's just a quick text to a friend. There's an ongoing academic debate about how much bathing is just right for older adults. Some experts argue for daily showers, others for weekly baths. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The key is to find what works for you, based on your skin, your health, and your lifestyle. And if anyone tries to tell you otherwise, just smile and say, "My doctor says I'm doing it right." So, to recap, bathe less often, time it wisely, make your bathroom safe, listen to your body, and keep the booze out of the tub. It's not rocket science, but it is the science of staying healthy, happy, and upright well into your later years. And if you can do it with a smile, and maybe a rubber duck or two, all the better. As we come to the end of our journey tonight, I want you to take a deep breath and let the gentle rhythm of these words settle over you like a warm, comforting blanket. You've listened patiently as I unraveled the myths and realities of bathing in old age. And perhaps you're feeling a little overwhelmed, maybe even a bit nostalgic for the days when a hot bath was the answer to every ache and worry. But let me reassure you, change doesn't have to be frightening. In fact, it can be the most loving gift you give yourself as you grow older. There's a certain wisdom that only comes with time, a softening of the edges, a willingness to let go of what no longer serves us. I've seen it in my patients, in my own family, and yes, even in myself. The rituals we once clung to so tightly, daily scrubbing, scalding showers, the belief that more is always better, begin to lose their grip. In their place, we find new habits, gentler routines, and a deeper respect for the body that has carried us through so many seasons of life. Let me share a final story, one that always brings a smile to my face. My mother, who once insisted on bathing twice a day, now delights in her spa days, a leisurely soak every few days, followed by a luxurious slathering of moisturizer and a cup of tea by the window. She tells me her skin has never felt better, and she sleeps more soundly than she has in years. I never thought I'd enjoy being a little less clean. She laughs, but I do love being a lot more comfortable. There's a lesson in that. I think, sometimes, the greatest comfort comes not from doing more, but from doing just enough. Here's a marginal fact to ponder as you drift off tonight. In some cultures, the act of bathing is less about cleanliness and more about ritual, reflection, and connection. In Turkey, for example, the hammam is a place not just for washing, but for conversation, laughter, and even a little gossip. It's a reminder that self-care is as much about the soul as it is about the skin. Maybe it's time we all reclaimed a bit of that spirit, turning our baths into moments of mindfulness, rather than just another chore to check off the list. Of course, the academic debate continues. Some experts will always argue for more frequent bathing, others for less. But the real answer lies within you, within your own experience, your own comfort, your own sense of what feels right. The rules I've shared tonight are not commandments, but invitations to listen to your body, to honor its needs, and to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. So, as you turn off the lights and settle into the quiet of the night, remember this: you are not alone on this journey. There are millions of us all over the world, learning to care for ourselves in new ways, discovering that a little less can truly be a lot more. And if you ever feel uncertain, just know that you have a community here, one that values wisdom, laughter, and the gentle art of growing older with grace. Now, let the worries of the day slip away. Feel the softness of your sheets, the steady beat of your heart, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are taking good care of yourself. Tomorrow is another day, and with it, another chance to practice these small, loving habits. Until then, rest easy and know that you are exactly where you need to be. As we draw this gentle conversation to a close, I invite you to let the lessons of tonight settle softly in your mind, like the last rays of sunlight slipping through a window at dusk. We have traveled together through the quiet corridors of memory and habit, pausing to examine the rituals that have shaped our lives and the subtle wisdom that comes with age. Perhaps you have recognized yourself in these stories: a restless night, a stubborn itch, a moment of dizziness in the bathroom, or the comforting embrace of a long-held routine. Remember, the journey to healthier habits is not a sprint, but a slow, meandering walk. There is no need to rush or to judge yourself for the ways you have cared for your body in the past. Instead, let tonight's insights be a gentle nudge, a reminder that small changes, bathing less often, choosing lukewarm water, listening to your body's quiet signals, can bring profound comfort and safety. The world may tell us that more is always better, but your body, in its quiet wisdom, knows otherwise. Let yourself be reassured. You are not giving up cleanliness or dignity by adapting your habits. You are embracing a new kind of self-respect, one that honors the changes of time and the needs of your skin, your heart, and your spirit. Share these lessons with those you love, and know that you are part of a community that values not just longevity, but the quality and comfort of each day, So, as you drift toward sleep, let your breath slow, your muscles relax, and your mind grow quiet. You have done enough. You are enough. And tomorrow, you will wake with a little more wisdom, a little more ease, and the quiet confidence that comes from caring for yourself, body, and soul. End of the script. Good night.